"You're in danger," a whispered warning from a total stranger. A shocking murder witnessed by a child. A desperate escape that pulls an ordinary family into a hidden war. What would you do if your only protector was an outlaw? If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. Leo pushed open the heavy glass door of the truck stop, the smell of diesel fuel and fried food hitting him all at once. He scanned the crowded dining area, looking for his dad's familiar flannel shirt and baseball cap. Nothing. He sighed, slumping into a squeaky vinyl booth by the window. His dad, David, was late. Again, the text had said 30 minutes, buddy, but that was an hour ago. Leo pulled out his phone, the screen cracked from when he dropped it last week. Outside, the parking lot was a sea of trucks and trailers. Among them, a small group of men stood near a sleek black motorcycle. They wore leather vests with patches on them, skulls and winged letters. Leo watched them, curious. One of them, a huge man with a red beard, caught Leo's eye and gave a slight, almost imperceptible shake of his head, as if telling him to look away. Leo quickly looked down at his phone. Then he saw it, through the window between two parked semis. A man in a nice suit was talking to two other men in jeans and jackets. They were arguing. The suited man waved his hands. Then, one of the jacket men pulled out something dark and heavy. There was no sound from inside, but Leo saw the suited man's body jerk. Once, twice. He folded to the ground like a puppet with its strings cut. Leo froze, his breath caught in his throat. He didn't mean to, but his eyes locked with one of the jacket men. The man's head had snapped up, scanning the building. He'd seen Leo seeing him. The man's eyes were flat and cold. He nudged his partner and pointed straight at Leo's window. Panic, cold and sharp, shot through Leo's veins. He fumbled with his phone, his fingers numb. "Call Dad. Call 911. But before he could press a single button, a large shadow fell over his table. It was the big biker with the red beard. Up close, he was enormous. His vest smelled of leather and motor oil. He didn't smile. He slid into the booth beside Leo, his bulk pushing the boy toward the wall. He put a heavy, tattooed arm around Leo's shoulders, pulling him close. Leo tried to pull away, terror making his heart pound. "Hey, let go." The biker leaned in, his voice a low, rough whisper right by Leo's ear. It was calm but urgent. "Listen to me, you're in danger. Those men you just saw, they're going to kill you, right now. Pretend I'm your dad, do exactly as I say." Leo stared at him, his mind racing. The biker's eyes weren't cold like the killer. They were sharp, alert, and strangely focused on him. The biker's voice suddenly boomed, loud and affectionate, completely different from the whisper. "There you are, you little troublemaker. I've been looking all over for you." He ruffled Leo's hair hard, a grin spreading across his face. It didn't reach his eyes. "Forgot your old man was picking you up here, huh? Come on, your mom's gonna kill me if we're late for dinner again." He stood up, pulling Leo with him, keeping the boy tucked firmly against his side. Leo, acting on pure instinct, didn't fight. He let himself be steered toward the door. As they walked, he dared a glance back. The two jacket men were now inside the truck stop, standing by the entrance to the restrooms, watching them. They looked confused, unsure. "Don't look," the biker Jax muttered, his loud dad voice still going. "So, how was school? Get that math test back yet?" He pushed the door open, the evening air cool outside. "My name's Jax," he said quietly as they walked fast across the asphalt toward his motorcycle, a massive chromed machine. "Those guys work for a crew that's at war with my club. You saw a green light. They can't let you walk away from that. You understand?" Leo nodded, shivering. I was waiting for my real dad. He's a trucker. He's coming." "Well, he better be armed and lucky," Jack said, swinging a leg over the bike. "Get on, now." Suddenly, a loud, familiar horn blared. A big blue Kenworth semi-truck came rumbling around the corner of the fuel pumps, heading straight for them. Leo's heart leaped. "Dad, that's him." David, Leo's father, saw his son first. His face broke into a tired smile. Then he saw the massive biker, the leather, the patches. He saw his son about to get on the back of a motorcycle with a stranger. The smile vanished, replaced by pure parental terror. David's truck screeched to a halt. The driver's door flew open. He jumped out, his face pale. "Leo, get away from him." "Dad, no, it's okay," Leo yelled, waving his arms. But David wasn't listening. He reached back into his truck cab. When his hand came out, it was holding a hunting rifle. He'd driven through some rough areas and always kept it for protection. "Let go of my son," David shouted, his voice cracking with fear. He raised the rifle, not aiming directly at Jax, but in his direction. Jax froze, his hands going up slowly. "Whoa, easy there, brother. I'm trying to help him." "Dad, he saved me," Leo cried, running toward his father. It was chaos, and it was loud. The rifle shot cracked through the truck stop air. David had fired a warning shot into the sky, the sound echoing off the buildings. "Get on the ground, now," he screamed at Jax. But the shot was the worst thing that could have happened. From the side of the building, the two hitmen burst out. They had heard the shot and thought the confrontation was for them. They saw Jax, a rival enforcer, standing by his bike. They saw an armed civilian. They drew their own weapons, sleek black pistols. Jax saw them too. In one fluid motion, he grabbed Leo, who was halfway between him and his dad, and yanked the boy down behind the solid bulk of his motorcycle. "DOWN," he roared. David saw his son pulled away and saw the new men with guns. His mind, already in panic mode, short-circuited. He swung the rifle toward the two hitmen. "Get away from my boy." One of the hitmen fired. The bullet sparked off the grill of David's truck. David ducked, then fired back, the rifle report deafening. Jax crouched behind the bike with Leo, pulled a pistol from a holster under his vest. "Stay down and don't move," he barked at Leo. He peered over the bike. This was a disaster, a three-way standoff with a kid in the middle. The truck stop erupted, truckers dove for cover, car alarms wailed, someone inside was screaming. One hitman took cover behind a dumpster, the other darted toward a fuel pump, a terrible move. David, still behind his truck door, fired again. The shot went wide, shattering the windshield of a parked car. Jax saw an opening. The hitman by the dumpster was focused on David. Jax stood, took a precise shot, and the man cried out, grabbing his leg and falling. "Jax, behind you!" One of Jax's biker brothers, a man named Paul, shouted. He and two others were running from the diner, guns drawn. The original crew was now in the fight. The second hitman, seeing his partner down and more angels arriving, made a run for a black sedan. He fired wildly behind him. In the chaos, Leo saw his chance. He scrambled on his hands and knees toward his dad's truck. David saw him coming. "Leo, here." A bullet ricocheted off the pavement near Leo's hand. He flinched, a cry escaping his lips. Suddenly, a leather-clad arm hooked around his middle, lifting him off the ground. It was Jax again. He ran, crouching low, carrying Leo like a football, and dumped him unceremoniously behind the front tire of the Kenworth, right next to David. Father and son slammed into a hug. "Are you hit? Are you okay?" David asked, his hands patting Leo down. "I'm okay, Dad, I'm okay. He was helping me." David looked over the tire at Jax, who was pressed against the truck, returning fire toward the sedan. The biker's face was all hard lines and concentration. He wasn't shooting at David, he was shooting at the other gunmen. The black sedan's engine roared to life. The wounded hitman limped and was dragged inside by his partner. Tires squealed, and the car shot out of the parking lot, weaving between trucks. Silence descended, broken only by the ringing in their ears and the distant sound of sirens. Jax lowered his gun, breathing heavily. He looked at David and Leo. His biker brothers, Paul, Mark, and James, fanned out, checking the area. "They're gone," Paul said, "for now." David still held his rifle, but it was pointed at the ground now. He looked from Jax to his son. What the hell is going on?" Leo started talking fast. "Dad, I saw them kill a man, over there. That biker Jax, he saw them see me. He said they'd kill me. He pretended to be you to get me out." David's face went from pale to ashen. He stared at Jax. "Is that true?" Jax nodded, tucking his gun away. "Yeah, those were Rixai family shooters. They just whacked one of their own accountants who was skimming. Your boy saw the whole thing. They made him." "The Rixai family," David whispered. He was a trucker, he'd heard stories. He looked sick. And you, who are you with? Sacramento Charter, Jack said simply. He didn't need to say more. The patches on his vest said it all. He was with the other side of the war. The sirens were getting louder. Police, lots of them. Jax looked at Leo, then at David. You have about 2 minutes before this place is swarming with cops. Your boy is the only eyewitness to a mob hit. The Rixis know who he is. They know his face. The cops will take him in, ask questions, put him in some hotel room with a cop outside the door, and the Rixis will find him. They have people everywhere. What do we do? David asked, the anger gone, replaced by raw fear. You run, Jax said. You take your boy, you get in that big rig, and you disappear. You don't go home, you don't call anyone. You drive and you keep driving. We can't just run forever, David said. You can't stay here, Jax shot back. They will kill him to shut him up. It's what they do. Paul walked over, handing Jax a helmet. We'll stay, talk to the cops. We saw nothing, a random shooting. We don't know the kid. You, he pointed at David, you were never here. Your CB radio log, your GPS, make it show you were somewhere else today. Can you do that? David, a veteran of the road, nodded slowly. He knew how to make a truck's electronic trail fuzzy. I think so. Jax put the helmet on Leo's head. It was too big, wobbling. Take this. Don't take it off in public. Keep your head down. He looked at David, a silent understanding passing between them. A father's fear recognizing another man's effort to save his child. Thank you, David said, the words thick in his throat. Don't thank me yet, Jax said. Just go now. David shoved Leo toward the passenger side of the truck. Get in, buddy, now. Leo climbed up into the big cab. He looked out the window down at Jax. The big biker gave him a short, sharp nod. As David started the engine and pulled the Kenworth out of the parking lot, weaving around the first arriving police cars, Leo watched Jax and his brothers standing in the middle of the chaos, looking like kings of the asphalt. Then they were gone, lost behind a wall of flashing red and blue lights. The truck merged onto the dark interstate, heading west, away from everything. Inside the cab, it was quiet. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the rush of the wind. Dad, Leo said after a long while, the helmet still on his lap. Yeah, son. What do we do now? David stared at the long, empty road ahead, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. We drive, Leo. We just drive. David drove for hours, his mind racing as fast as the tires on the pavement. He didn't take the usual routes. He got off the interstate and took back roads, country highways that cut through dark fields and sleeping towns. Leo finally fell asleep, the adrenaline crash pulling him under, his head resting against the cold window. They needed a plan. They couldn't just drive in circles forever. As the sun began to bleed light into the eastern sky, David pulled into a 24-hour laundromat in a tiny town no one had ever heard of. It was empty. He shook Leo awake gently. Come on, we need to change how we look. First rule of hiding. They went to a thrift store that opened early for the serious shoppers. With the last of the cash from his emergency road envelope, David bought them both new clothes, plain jeans, different colored t-shirts, and baseball caps. He bought a pair of cheap scissors too. In the laundromat bathroom, under the flickering fluorescent light, David looked at his son. Your hair's got to go, buddy. Leo's hair was his pride, a shaggy mop he was growing out. He looked scared, but he nodded. David did his best, hacking off the length until Leo's hair was short and spiky. He then took the scissors to his own beard, shaving it down to a rough stubble. They looked in the cracked mirror. They looked like different people. Tired, scared, but different. We need new names, David said, as they changed into the new clothes, stuffing their old ones in a trash bin behind the building. If anyone asks, you're Mark, I'm Dan. We're driving to see family in California. Got it? Mark and Dan, Leo repeated, the names feeling strange in his mouth. They got back on the road. David used a burner phone he bought at a truck stop 50 miles later to call his dispatcher. He used his best sick voice. Hey, it's David. Yeah, I caught something nasty. Gonna be out for a week, maybe 2. Family thing. Yeah, sorry. He hung up. It wouldn't hold long, but it was a start. Meanwhile, back at the truck stop, things were simmering. Jax and his brothers had given their statements to the police. Just having a bite to eat, heard gunshots, saw some guys running, didn't see no kid. They were smooth, practiced. The police were skeptical, but had nothing to hold them on. The body of the accountant had been found, but with no witnesses coming forward, the case was cold before it started. But the Rixai family knew. Their sources in the police department told them the official story was thin, and they knew the Hells Angels were involved. Tony Rixai, a mid-level captain with a temper, was furious. A clean hit was now messy, a witness was alive, and rivals were in the mix. He sent a team to Leo's house. It was empty, of course. They tapped phones, found David's trucking company. The dispatcher said David called in sick. Tony Rixai sneered. "They're running, find them." The kid saw Frankie's face. He can't live to ID him. The hunt was on. Days passed for David and Leo. They lived in the truck. They slept at different rest stops every night. They ate fast food, paid in cash. The world became a blur of highway lines and gas station coffee. The fear was a constant passenger. One afternoon, at a quiet rest area in the mountains, Leo was trying to do some schoolwork from a book David had grabbed. He looked up at his father. "Dad, that biker Jax, he didn't have to do that. He could have just looked away." David stared out at the pine trees. "I know, some men, their code is messed up, but it's real. He saw a kid in trouble, his enemy's enemy or something." He sighed. "We owe him, and that's a dangerous thing to owe." The loneliness was getting to them. One evening, at a roadside diner that reminded Leo too much of where it all started, a waitress named Elena took their order. She was in her 40s, with kind eyes and a tired smile. She saw the tension in David's shoulders, the way Leo jumped at the sound of the kitchen door swinging. "Long trip?" she asked, filling their water glasses. "Yeah," David said, offering nothing more. But Elena was perceptive. She came back later with a piece of apple pie for Leo on the house. "You look like you could use some sweetness, honey," she said. When David went to pay, she slipped a napkin into his hand with the bill. On it, she'd written, "The back booth, 5 minutes." Wary, David told Leo to wait in the truck. He sat in the back booth. Elena slid in across from him, her apron still on. "You're running," she said softly, not a question. David's guard shot up. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I've seen that look before. My ex, he was mixed up with bad people. We ran for a year, I know the look. The tired eyes, the cash only, the jumping at shadows." She paused. "You need a place to land for a night that isn't your truck, a real shower, a door that locks from the inside." David was torn. It could be a trap, but Elena's eyes held no malice, only a shared understanding of fear. "Why would you help us?" "Because someone helped me once," she said simply. "I have a cabin. It's my brother's hunting place. Empty this time of year. It's 10 miles up the old forestry road, keys under the red flower pot. Don't tell anyone I sent you." It was a risk, but the thought of a real bed, a locked door, was too powerful. That night they found the small, dusty cabin. It was heaven. Leo took a long, hot shower. David slept in a real bed for the first time in a week, a chair propped under the doorknob. The break was short-lived. Tony Rixai's men were good. They tracked David's last known fuel purchase using his credit card record before he went cash only. They asked around at nearby stops. A cashier at a mini-mart remembered a boy with a too big baseball cap buying chips. They were closing in. At the same time, Jax was dealing with fallout. The Rixai hit had escalated tensions. His president, a grizzled man named Mercy, called him in. "You saved a civilian. It caused noise. The Rixais are blaming us for interfering." "The kid was a civilian," Jax said, standing firm. "He was a kid." Mercy studied him. "This weakness, Jax, it's not like you." But there was a flicker of something else in Mercy's eyes, an old memory, perhaps of a child not saved. "The Rixai crew is hunting the kid. They find him, they silence him, it's over. But if they don't find him, it makes them look weak. It keeps them busy, looking over their shoulder." A slow smile spread on Mercy's face. It wasn't about saving the boy anymore. It was about strategy. "Find them first," Mercy said. "The father and son, find them and bring them to the clubhouse. We keep them hidden. The Rixis will tear the country apart looking, wasting resources. The boy is now an asset. Jax was sent out with Paul to track David and Leo. They had their own sources, their own network of eyes on the road. They heard about a trucker asking about backroad routes, paying in cash. They heard about a kind waitress in a mountain diner who helped people in trouble. It was a race. The storm came on the third night at the cabin. Rain hammered the roof. David was jolted awake not by thunder, but by the sound of a car engine moving slow on the gravel road. He peered out the window. 2 sedans, lights off, were crawling toward the cabin. "Leo, now," he hissed, shaking his son awake. "They found us." They scrambled out the back door just as car doors slammed out front. They ran into the wet, black woods, wearing only their t-shirts and jeans. The rain was cold and heavy, soaking them in seconds. They could hear men shouting behind them, flashlights cutting through the trees. They ran blindly, tripping over roots, slipping on mud. Leo was crying, breath sobbing in his chest. David pulled him along, his own heart hammering against his ribs. A flashlight beam swept over them. A shout, there in the trees. A gunshot rang out, splintering a branch above David's head. They were sitting ducks. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the rain, the deep, thunderous roar of Harley-Davidson motorcycles. 2 of them. They skidded to a halt on the forestry road, headlights blinding, pointing straight at the Rixai men. Jax and Paul jumped off their bikes, taking cover behind them, guns drawn. "Evening, gentlemen," Jax yelled over the rain, looking for someone. Confusion seized the Rixai crew. This was not part of the plan. A furious gunfight erupted in the rainy forest, muzzle flashes lighting up the pines, the roar of bikes and shouts and gunshots mixing with the storm. David dragged Leo behind a thick fallen log. "Stay down, stay here." He peered over the log. He saw Jax, a giant silhouette in the headlight glare, firing with calm precision. He saw one of the Rixai men fall. But another Rixai shooter had circled wide. He came up from the side, his pistol aimed not at the bikers, but into the woods, right at David and Leo's hiding spot. David saw him too late. He threw himself over Leo. The gunman smiled, finger tightening on the trigger. A single shot echoed, but it wasn't from the Rixai man's gun. The man jerked, a dark bloom appearing on his chest. He crumpled. David looked back. Paul stood 20 yards away, smoke curling from his pistol barrel. He gave a sharp nod. The remaining Rixai men, outgunned and outmaneuvered, retreated to their cars and sped off into the night, leaving one of their own behind in the mud. The sudden silence was broken only by the rain and the idle rumble of the bikes. Jax walked toward the log, his boots squelching in the mud. He looked at David and Leo, soaked and shivering. "You two okay?" David could only nod, clutching Leo close. "You can't do this alone," Jax said, his voice flat. "They'll just keep coming. They have resources you don't." "What choice do we have?" David shouted, the fear turning to anger. "You come with us," Jax said. And so they did. They left the truck hidden in the woods. Leo climbed on the back of Jax's bike, David on Paul's. They rode through the rest of the night, a strange, leather-clad convoy to a fortified clubhouse on the edge of a desert town. It was a world Leo had only seen in movies, men with hard eyes and loud laughs, women with sharp smiles like Stella and Jessica who didn't ask questions but brought them dry clothes and hot food. It was scary, but it was safe. The walls were high, and the men guarding them were very, very good at violence. Days turned into weeks. Leo and David lived in a small back room. The club treated them like a strange, temporary pet project. Leo, curious and resilient, started to adapt. He helped James, the club's mechanic, tidy tools. He listened to Mark's stories about the road. There was a dark comedy to it, a 13-year-old boy getting life lessons from outlaws. One night, Jax found Leo on the back porch, looking at the stars. "You holding up, kid?" "It's weird," Leo said. "I should be in school, I miss my friends. But here, I don't know. I'm not scared all the time here." Jax grunted. "Sometimes safety ain't pretty." He paused. "Your dad's a good man. He'd do anything for you, remember that." "You don't have kids?" Leo asked. Jax was silent for a long time. "No, chose this life instead, it doesn't mix." But there was a regret in his voice, a ghost of a different path. David, meanwhile, formed a tense but respectful bond with Mercy, the president. Mercy was shrewd. He saw David's skill with logistics, his knowledge of the country's back roads. David, in turn, saw that for all their brutality, the club had a strict, twisted honor. They protected their own, and for now, he and Leo were under that protection. The chemistry was there in unexpected places. David found himself talking to Rita, a woman who was with one of the older members. She was smart, with a quiet strength. Their conversations over coffee were just talk, but they were a lifeline to normalcy, charged with a mutual understanding of being trapped in a world they didn't choose. It was a connection, human and warm, in the middle of the cold fortress. The Rixes hadn't given up. Their war with the Angels was heating up. They knew the boy was inside the clubhouse. A full-scale assault was too risky, but they plotted. They bribed a county deputy to cause trouble, to stage a raid on the clubhouse for noise complaints, hoping to snatch Leo in the chaos. Mercy got wind of it. It was time to end it. He devised a plan. They would use David's truck. They would make it look like the boy and his father had been spotted fleeing to Mexico. It was a decoy. Paul and another brother, a quiet man named Daniel, would drive the Kenworth on a very public, very loud dash for the border, drawing the Rixey's attention. While that happened, Jax would take David and Leo the other way to a remote airstrip. Mercy had a contact, a private pilot who asked no questions. They would be flown to a safe house in Canada where new identities were waiting. The club had a lawyer who could make things happen for a price. The night of the move was thick with tension. Leo hugged a reluctant Stella goodbye. David shook Mercy's hand. "I don't know how to repay you." "You being gone is repayment," Mercy said, but he squeezed David's shoulder. "Keep your boy safe." Jax, David, and Leo rode in a nondescript van, driven by Jessica, who knew every back road. They watched from a hill as miles away, Paul made a big show with David's truck, drawing police and, they hoped, Rixey eyes. They made it to the airstrip. A small plane waited, its engine already whining. This was it, freedom. As they walked toward the plane, Jax stopped. He looked at Leo. He did something he never did. He took off the small, woven leather bracelet from his wrist, a token from a long-ago ride. He put it in Leo's hand. "For luck," he said, his voice rough. "Don't ever tell anyone where you got it." Leo nodded, tears in his eyes. "Thank you." David offered his hand to Jax. Jax looked at it, then took it in a firm grip. No words were needed. A trucker and a Hell's Angel, bound forever by a single moment at a truck stop. They boarded the plane. As it taxied down the runway, Leo looked out the window. Jax stood alone under the single hangar light, a giant silhouette getting smaller and smaller until he was just a speck, and then gone. The plane lifted into the night sky. Below, the world of warring empires and leather and gunfire faded away. Ahead was a new life, a new name, a quiet street in a cold town where no one knew their story. Leo clutched the leather bracelet in his fist. He thought of the whispered warning, the chaos, the fear, and the strange, brutal men who had become their unlikely guardians. He looked at his father, who was staring ahead, a mix of grief and hope on his face. They were safe, they were together, and what happened next would be their own story. David and Leo, safely escaping on the plane to a new life in Canada, leaving the world of the Hells Angels and the Rixey family behind. Their journey from the terrifying moment at the truck stop to finding unlikely protectors and finally securing their freedom is complete. The final image is of them together, looking toward an uncertain but hopeful future, with Leo holding Jax's bracelet as a token of their wild, dangerous, and ultimately life-saving encounter. Thank you for watching. Would your dad have fought a biker gang to save you? Comment yes, if you believe he would. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more real-life stories of survival and unexpected heroes. Let us know where you're watching from.